practicing lawyer. And she's also here as a guest to tell us about the Korean law. Hello, Hyunjoo.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. What are we going to talk about today?
Today, I'd like to talk about succession.
Succession? What do you mean by that?
Kind of inheritance.
Oh, okay. All right, sure. Well, why are we going to talk about this?
Some ask me about the succession in the case the spouses passes away. I know it's not a pleasant topic to talk about, but it can be a critical issue for some.
Yeah, I understand that. And I'll be honest, my wife and I have actually talked about it seriously before, but also we kind of joke about it sometimes, because it's, death is a hard thing to have to think about.
Right.
But it happens, and it happens often when you're not ready for it. So it's good to understand, how does a law work in this case?
Yes. First issue would be which law applies to a couple with different nationality if one passes away.
Okay.
In Korea, if a Korean spouse dies, the foreign spouse will inherit the property of the deceased in accordance with Korean law.
Okay.
So it will be governed by the Korean law. However, if a foreign spouse dies, the Korean spouse will inherit the property of the deceased in accordance with the foreign spouse's home country law.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it depends on the law of the deceased.
Yeah, I suppose that could have tax implications depending on the two countries' tax agreements and things like that. But I mean, let's start at the beginning, because we're going to look at Korean law, right? So I guess we have to talk about the Korean spouse dying.
Yes. Let's say the Korean spouse dies without a will. I think I'll have a chance to explain will drafting sooner or later, so I'll skip the will part in today's topic. So let's go back to our situation. The Korean spouse dies without a will.
Okay.
Then it's called intestate in the US, which means that a person dying without a will.
Okay.
So in this situation, there is a rule in the share of surviving spouse and the descendant. So according to Civil Act, the first level is the descendants, such as children of the deceased, and the second level would be the ancestors of the deceased, and the third level will be his or her siblings, and the fourth level will be his cousins.
Okay.
But the spouse will be entitled for the property as the same level with the descendant, such as children, if there are any. But if they don't have any children, then the surviving spouse will hold the same level as the surviving parents, like the ancestors.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yes.
So, for example, my wife and I have no children.
Okay.
So if my wife passes away, God forbid,
yeah,
I would inherit
the property with your in-laws.
Okay. So my mother and father-in-law and I would be sharing the property and, I don't know,
the debts,
life insurance and stuff. All that kind of thing. Huh. All right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's the law.
Yeah.
So
and if I die, it would happen under Canadian law.
Yes.
Which I think it would all go to my wife.
Oh.
I think that's how it works. I don't think my parents get anything.
Okay.
So then actually she'd get everything.
Yep.
So we better sign a will and work this out. Okay. Let's keep going at some other examples of this.
Yes. So if there is no will, the share of the surviving spouse will be 50% more than the descendant or the ancestors.
Okay.
So let's say the Korean spouse passes away without a will. The surviving family members are 2 children and a foreign spouse and his mother. So according to the hierarchy level, the children will be the first level. The spouse will entitle the same order with the children. The share will be 1 share for each child and 1.5 share for the spouse.
Okay.
So the ratio will be 1 for the son, 1 for the daughter, and 1.5 for the spouse.
I see.
Yep. And there will be nothing for the parents, the mother, because she's like the lower level.
Okay.
So as there are children in the spouse, they hold the priority. The property will not pass to the ancestors, but will be divided only between the spouse and the children.
Okay.
However, if there is no children but only the mother and the spouse, as you said, the spouse and the mother will inherit the asset.
All right. I see. All right. So keep going. Keep explaining. This is all news to me. It's very interesting.
So one thing you should remember is that the spouse is not required to be a naturalized Korean to qualify for her right or his right as surviving spouse.
Okay. So, for example, I'm not a naturalized Korean.
It doesn't matter.
But I'd still be treated as the spouse.
Yes.
Okay. That's good.
Yes. Let's say sometimes widow is asked by the Korean family to kind of give up her right to succeed the property. The foreign spouse can request to revoke the effective division of succeeding property based on the ground that she was not informed of such arrangement and was deceived by other family members.
Okay.
Another interesting thing is that the family members who are entitled for the asset of the deceased cannot revoke his or her right before the successor dies. So let's say that the father got mad at the son and ordered him to write a statement that he will give up all the assets of his father if he disobeys the command.
Okay.
The important thing is that if the document was made before the father passes away, it's invalid.
Really?
No, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have any effect if it was written before the successor dies. Such statement can be only effective if it was drafted after the successor dies.
Okay.
So, like if there are some family members and one is rich, the others are poor, so the people might ask, oh, why don't you give up your portion and share and just let us share our father's asset? So if like the rich brother agrees on it, he might want to write a document, but he should do it only after the father passes away.
Okay, so if they write it before the father passes away, it has no effect.
No.
That's so interesting. So you're always negotiating from a point of strength. Like you can never give up something and then later change your mind and say, "Oh, actually I wish I could keep it." In this case, it seems like you're protected from that, right?
Yes. Oh, he can really give up. He can really give up if he wants.
But only after he's already in line to receive it.
Or so if he already drafted that kind of statement before the father passes away, then he might need to repeat it again.
Right. Yes. But he could change his mind.
Yeah, sure.
And say, now that I'm getting that money, I think I'd like it.
Yep.
Or, maybe they could say, actually, I don't get along with you guys anymore. So I don't, okay, I see. I've heard, I think in every culture, when there's an inheritance, sometimes some ugliness can come out.
Yep.
I've heard it's more difficult to do now, but I heard family used to be able to change the successor and I guess argue a bit about who would get the money, whether to take the spouse out of the will, things like that.
Oh yeah.
But I've heard that's much more difficult to do now.
Yeah, we can talk about it later.
But yeah, those laws have changed. But I'm still trying to understand one thing. So you said, I don't have children. And so that's kind of a weird situation where my mother and father-in-law become equal parties, right?
Yes.
So are they each weighed at one share?
One person will get one share. If there are like two in-law, one, and then you will get 1.5.
I would get 1.5.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's only when like your wife passes away without a will. That's like the legal portion.
Sure.
But she can write a will saying that I'll give more to my husband.
Right.
Then you can like make some changes to the legal or obligations.
Right. Yeah. I don't really want to have to think about this, and I'm sure it wouldn't happen, but my wife and I own an apartment together.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, she passes away. Suddenly, my in-laws own more of the apartment than I do.
Oh, no. If it's...
Well, I guess I own it together, so I would have half.
Yes, half is yours, and the only half will be her portion, her share of the house will be something that can be passed
Right.
to you and the in-laws.
Okay, so I guess you buy each other out of it or something.
But your in-laws may give up their portion.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
They can do that too.
All right. I probably sound very mercenary talking about this, but you know, I teach economics, so I start thinking about the incentives and the way the money works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned a lot today. Thank you so much, Hyunjoo.
You're welcome. You can find this segment.
Oh. Sorry, let's just.
Or if it was too long, we
No,
can.
it's okay. You can say it right now. This is also online, right?
Yes, you can find this segment in video and my YouTube channel. You can find me by searching Korean Law 101 on YouTube. Thank you for having me.
It was our pleasure.
You're welcome.
Sorry about that. I thought we had lots of time left.
No,
Suddenly we didn't.